Today, we look back at the Flames 2024-2025 season and look back at some of the greatest lessons that the Flames learned.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. Today, we are going to be talking about 3 big lessons that the Flames learned along the way from this past season. And, taking those lessons and moving forward with them. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's jump into it. Coming right out of the gate with preseason projections, predictions mean absolutely nothing. I talked to a lot of people who thought the Flames were going to be worse than the San Jose Sharks this year. I talked to people who thought that they might be a playoff team. But the overall consensus was that this team was not, based on where the Flames were on paper last September and early October, the Flames team was not meant to touch the playoffs, to sniff a wild card spot. They were meant to be hanging at the bottom of the league with Chicago and San Jose. But obviously, we know that that didn't happen. There was something that just fueled this locker room to go out there night after night and put on a performance. Dustin Wolf taking over for Markstrom, I truly feel like was the backbone to this team's success, and everyone had a hand in it otherwise, but Justin Wolf truly came out of the gate swinging. And the way that Huska managed the goaltenders was super helpful, I would say, to kind of get both Vladar and Wolf comfortable and acclimated to the season, to the workload, and the expectations. It wasn't necessarily a guaranteed win that Dustin Wolf was going to come in and have a smooth transition to the NHL. He had played 17, 18 games before the season before and just wasn't playing well. And Vladar had never really played a starting role. So going back and forth for a bit and then switching it up to if you win, you're in sort of deal was an adjustment. And I think that they did well. And what also helped was, of course, Jonathan Huberdeau's resurgence, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here. But it was completely unexpected, out of left field, and the same success with Matt Coronado. And we'll talk about him in a little bit. Preseason predictions are only based upon what you are seeing on paper. They are not, I mean, not only is it just like your player, your roster on paper, but what the season before looked like with if the team stayed relatively the same. And I think that that's the expectation was for this team to not be good. It was to be bad. It was to be a draft lottery team and be able to hold on to the first round pick because the one that the Canadians had or we gave to the Canadians was top 10 protected. So had the Flames finished in the bottom 10, then it would have been a different story. And that's where they were expected to finish, and they did not. But I think it's motivating because you people have this expectation of you, and you can just go ahead and feed right into it and believe that you're not meant to be a good team. Oh, uh, Huberto, you're supposed to have a down year, so, like, there's not a lot of emphasis on trying to be better, or, the expectation is to just kind of coast, so why would you go above and beyond? I'm not saying that's what happened or in any way, shape, or form, but I do feel as if the preseason predictions and projections motivated this team. I think, they're not dumb. Players, no matter what they say, "Oh, we don't let outside noise into the room. Outside noise doesn't get to us." Believe it or not, they see things. Whether it is your tweets, an article that you write, a post that you write, whatever it is, the players see things. And at the end of the day, they're human beings too. And nothing drives a human being quite like spite. And I think we've seen that with the Flames this year too, right? They wanted to prove everyone wrong. They did, almost up until game, what was it, 81. And at the end of the day, I'm proud of them. I think that this team worked really hard to get there and to keep their heads down and keep their name in the race. That is what it is. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like they didn't work hard all season, and a lot of these players go through some of the most um unexpected loss of their lives. And to be able to carry on with a professional hockey season is it takes a lot of strength and a lot of guts, and kudos to them. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the expectation for uh, anyone being poised for a breakout year or a setback here on Locked On Flames. Have you ever looked at your bank account and thought, where did all of my money go? Yeah, me too. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is super easy to lose track. And that is where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it is a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off of your first year. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I'm your host, Jess Belmosto, and make sure you are subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's just talk about it, because this season really depended on Wolf a lot more than I think most people anticipated. I think that Dustin Wolf did an obscene amount of work for a rookie goaltender. He came in and took over and didn't really miss a beat. I mean, obviously you're going to lose some games along the way. Like, that is without a doubt something that happens. It's not a surprise. But the way that Wolf kept his composure all season long, you didn't see him get frazzled. You didn't see him get out of sorts for one reason or another. He just was so focused, so locked in. And that is the emotional intelligence and emotional maturity that I would love to see more hockey players have, especially at the young age of 23 years old. Again, another young player that really broke out this year unexpectedly was Adam Klapka. Adam Klapka is, of course, a 6'8" forward that is just a giant. He is huge. And while he did kind of rotate between the AHL and NHL, I think that he still played a very impactful game at the NHL level. He found his offensive stride. He found, how to use his size to his advantage in this new level of professional hockey. And I think one thing that's been fun is just watching a man of his size be a forward. We're used to seeing guys that size be defensemen. Like, I think of Chara and how big he was on skates. And Klapka is huge. Klapka is a giant. And I I think that he established himself as an NHL player, as a depth player, at least for now. And I think what's been so fun about it is just how unexpected it was. It reminds me of Martin Pospisil and Connor Zary, their first season, because of how unexpected the call-ups were and just how consistently good they were. And of course, Jonathan Huberdeau, you can't talk about a bounce back or a breakout without mentioning Jonathan Huberdeau. He has been so good this season. And I think one of the things that has helped him is just getting his confidence back, getting settled in with the Flames, getting established in the city, and really just focusing on hockey. And he did that. And he has done a great job. 28 goals is not something to sneeze at. He did a great job. And I don't necessarily like, of course I wanted him to hit 30, but I wasn't necessarily going to put all of the weight of, well, his season would have been successful had he got 30 goals. No, it would have been even more of a success. But with Huberdeau, you have to anticipate what's the word? The inconsistency of his offense, and his defense isn't overly great either. But he looked at home in uh on the top line this year. I think what helped him, of course, was Kadri. I think Kadri has been an excellent player for, a lot of these guys, and just having him on the team and his skill on the ice, just it does wonders for these players. And I think that's a testament to Kadri's hard work, but also the fact that the Flames, kind of lean on each other like that. I think that that's great. My biggest gripe of the season is, of course, Rasmus Anderson not having a great season. He was a minus 38 to finish the season. That is not good. That is a franchise worst at a minus 38. And he is your top pairing defenseman. With that also means he can do a 180. You never know what you may get. I think it's harder to expect and predict with goaltenders than it is, say, skaters. But I think, you have to keep thinking on the positive side of, okay, just one down year. It's okay. He'll bounce back. And Huberdeau clawed himself out of that hole too, and that kind of expectation. And I think that that's great. Martin Pospisil, however, he suffered from the sophomore slump. It's not uncommon. You see it all the time. I mean, Zary kind of had the opposite up until the end of the season, of course, with those 2 big knee injuries, but he was a consistent scorer. Martin Pospisil, I feel like his struggles started off immediately, and they were very big struggles that you might not be able to quickly recover from. And of course, I'm talking about taking not even just ill-timed penalties, but just the amount of penalties he took in general, I think just really did a number on his confidence, the penalty kills confidence, and anytime he was on the ice, it just kind of felt like you had to watch it through your fingers like it was a horror movie. And that's how it felt when Rasmus Andersson was on the ice this season as well. But you hope that the Flames are able to bounce back. And for players like Matt Coronado to have another 24, 25 plus goal season, you want to see Martin Pospisil will get back on that horse and go 2 or 3 games with only just, 1 minor. And you don't want to see any more suspensions from your players. I think a lot of the Flames' issues could be solved if they just played with better discipline, and that would likely be able to help them. But coming up next, we are going to talk about just keeping on, and remember what it's like to just keep swimming. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And my goodness, weathering the storm is not an easy feat. The Flames did that all season long. They did not hesitate. They put on their raincoats and their rain boots and trudged through every hurricane, every tornado, every single piece of adversity they faced. There are a lot of talented players in this room. Would they be even more talented if you added complementary pieces? Yes, of course. That's how roster construction works. And I don't necessarily think that that means you need to go out and use your $29 million in cap space to, what's the word I'm looking for? To try to rush this thing along. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was a competitive hockey team. The Flames have a lot of work to do before they even consider themselves a contender. And I think part of, just riding out the storm and weathering the storm is, of course, knowing you'll get rewarded. I think back to when Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee were traded and how Conroy said, "Oh yeah, like those 2 players are a reward for the Flames playing so well." Even if it meant ripping the hearts out of fan favorite and most passionate person to probably ever be a Flame, Jacob Pelletier. But you don't get to the finish line without some bumps in the road. You get closer and closer to where you want to be, whether it is a day by day or a game by game basis, or if you are looking at just the immediate fix. you have to continue to work on this project. This isn't a one-off season, okay, we're done sort of situation. I don't care if they have $30 million in cap space. I don't think that that is enough. Or not. I think it's more than enough to bring superstars to Calgary, but I don't think Calgary itself is a destination, a hot destination right now anyway for free agents. I think it again, it's a work in progress, and you have to continue to do the work to get there, to cross that finish line. For me, I think the Flames could really benefit from switching it up on the power play, and finding a way to generate more shots in general. I think the biggest thing they should be looking at in free agency is, of course, a forward and a goal scorer. I don't know how many middle six players you can have in a single organization, but just because you put them on the top line doesn't mean they're top line players. Controversial, I know. But that will do it for me here today on this episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic week. You can find the show wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And I will see you all later. Bye-bye.